Everyone in that wedding hall thought she was invisible. They saw a waitress carrying plates, but they never saw the strength, dignity, and story she carried with her. And they never noticed that the most powerful man in the room was watching everything. The grand ballroom of the Whitmore estate was glowing beneath crystal chandeliers, with hundreds of guests dressed in elegant suits and expensive gowns. It was the kind of place where every detail was designed to impress, from the polished marble floors to the carefully arranged flowers covering each table. It was a celebration of wealth, status, and appearances. In the center of it all stood Victoria Hayes, the bride, surrounded by admiration and attention. She smiled as guests complimented the beauty of the ceremony, the luxury of the venue, and the perfection of every arrangement. But while everyone looked at the bride, few people noticed the woman quietly moving through the room with a tray in her hands. Naomi Brooks was a 34-year-old black plus-size waitress working the event. She wore a simple uniform, kept her posture professional, and carried herself with calm confidence despite the uncomfortable looks she sometimes received. To many guests, she was just another employee in the background, someone who served the room but did not belong in it. They saw the uniform before they saw the person. They saw her position before they saw her character. But Naomi had learned long ago that other people's assumptions did not define her. She had spent years working hard, caring for her family, and building a life through patience and determination. She understood that dignity was something no one could take away unless she allowed them to. Across the ballroom, Vincent Callahan watched silently. The 50-year-old white mafia boss was known throughout the city as a man who rarely showed emotion. People respected his influence, his intelligence, and his ability to remain calm in any situation. Many people in the room wanted his approval. Many wanted his attention. But Vincent was not interested in appearances. He watched people when they believed nobody was watching. That was when he saw the truth. He noticed how Naomi treated every guest with kindness, even those who ignored her. He noticed how she solved small problems without seeking praise. He noticed the difference between someone who simply performed a job and someone who carried genuine professionalism. Meanwhile, Victoria began becoming increasingly frustrated by the attention given to every small detail of the wedding. When a minor issue occurred during the reception, she looked for someone to blame. Her eyes turned toward Naomi, the easiest person to criticize. The room became uncomfortable as the bride questioned Naomi in front of several guests. Naomi stood quietly, holding herself together with grace. She did not argue. She did not respond with anger. She simply listened, even though the words were unfair. Some guests looked away. Others remained silent. The woman everyone ignored was standing alone in a room full of people. But Vincent Callahan noticed. He saw what everyone else missed. He saw a person being judged by appearance instead of character. And as the ballroom continued celebrating, the most powerful man in the room began to realize that the person with the least attention might be the one with the greatest strength. Naomi did not know it yet, but that night would become the moment when everything changed. Because Vincent Callahan was about to prove that the quietest person in the room could be the one everyone remembered. The woman everyone overlooked had spent years learning one important lesson. Kindness does not become less valuable just because the world fails to notice it. Long before Naomi Brooks stepped into the grand ballroom of the Whitmore estate, she had already faced moments when people judged her without knowing her story. She had learned to carry herself with confidence, even when others tried to make her feel invisible. Naomi's life was not defined by the uniform she wore. It was defined by the heart behind it. Every morning, she woke before sunrise in her small apartment on the quiet side of the city. She prepared herself for another day with the same determination she had carried for years. Her routine was simple: a cup of coffee, a few moments of reflection, and a reminder written on a small note near her kitchen window. Your worth is not decided by someone else's opinion. It was a message she had written for herself after a difficult period in her life, when she had questioned whether her efforts mattered. Naomi had once dreamed of managing her own hospitality business. She loved creating experiences that made people feel welcomed. She understood that service was not about being beneath others. It was about making people feel respected. But life had taken unexpected turns. Family responsibilities, financial challenges, and difficult circumstances led her to take the waitress position at the Whitmore estate events. Some people saw that job as a limitation. Naomi saw it as another chapter in her journey. She believed every opportunity could teach her something. While others focused on what she lacked, Naomi focused on what she could give. She remembered the names of regular customers. She noticed when someone needed extra help. She treated every person with the same respect, regardless of their status. That was what Vincent Callahan noticed from across the ballroom. While others saw a waitress moving quietly between tables, Vincent saw someone with unusual discipline. He had spent decades around people who smiled because they wanted something from him. He had learned to recognize genuine character. Naomi's actions were different. She was not trying to impress anyone. She was simply being herself. After the uncomfortable moment with Victoria, Vincent continued observing. He noticed that Naomi did not complain afterward. She did not seek sympathy from other employees. Instead, she continued helping guests and ensuring the event remained organized. That surprised him. Many people showed their true nature when they felt disrespected. Naomi showed hers when she was treated unfairly. Later that evening, Vincent asked one of his assistants about her. He wanted to know who she was beyond the uniform. The answer surprised him. Naomi was not someone who lacked ambition. She was someone who had quietly overcome obstacles while continuing to move forward. She had skills, intelligence, and a level of emotional strength that many people with far more advantages never developed. Vincent looked back toward the ballroom where Naomi was still working. The same room that had judged her moments earlier was now continuing without realizing what they had missed. But Vincent understood something they did not. A person's position could change. Their appearance could be misunderstood. Their circumstances could be temporary. But character revealed itself through actions. And Naomi Brooks had shown hers when nobody expected anyone important to be watching. Vincent Callahan had spent most of his life surrounded by people who wanted something from him. Some wanted opportunities, some wanted influence, and others wanted the protection that came with his name. Over time, he became skilled at recognizing false intentions. A polite smile did not always mean kindness. A compliment did not always mean respect. That was why Naomi Brooks caught his attention. She was not trying to impress anyone. She was not searching for approval. She was simply doing her work with a level of care that most people had forgotten to appreciate. After the wedding reception ended, Vincent remained in the quiet ballroom for a few extra moments. The decorations were still in place, but the energy had changed. Hours earlier, the room had been filled with celebration. Now it was almost empty, allowing him to think about what he had witnessed. He remembered the way Naomi stood when she was criticized. She had every reason to respond emotionally, yet she chose dignity instead. Vincent had seen many people with wealth and influence lose their composure over small inconveniences. But Naomi, a woman who had been treated unfairly in front of strangers, showed a level of strength that surprised him. The next morning, Vincent asked his assistant to gather more information about her. He did not want rumors or assumptions. He wanted facts. The information that came back revealed a story completely different from what people at the wedding believed. Naomi had worked in hospitality for years, but she had always been more than an employee following instructions. She had a natural understanding of people. She knew how to make guests feel comfortable, how to organize details under pressure, and how to solve problems without seeking attention. Her coworkers often relied on her experience, even if they did not always give her credit for it. Vincent read through the details carefully. What interested him most was not her work history. It was the way people described her. They mentioned her patience. They mentioned her reliability. They mentioned how she helped others even when nobody was watching. Those qualities were rare in his world. Later that day, Vincent returned to the restaurant where Naomi worked. He did not arrive with a crowd or announce his presence. He simply wanted to see how she treated people when there was nothing to gain. He watched from a distance as she greeted customers, assisted coworkers, and handled a busy afternoon with calm professionalism. She treated every person with the same respect, whether they were wearing expensive clothing or sitting quietly in the corner. That confirmed what Vincent had already suspected. Naomi's character was not something she displayed for special occasions. It was part of who she was. Meanwhile, Naomi had no idea that the man observing her had become interested in understanding her story. She continued focusing on her responsibilities, unaware that someone who rarely gave his attention to ordinary moments had found something extraordinary. Vincent eventually realized that the biggest mistake people made was assuming value always came with a title, a reputation, or a certain appearance. Naomi had none of those things in the eyes of the crowd at the wedding. Yet she carried something far more important. She carried integrity. And for Vincent Callahan, that was something money could never buy. The morning after Vincent Callahan learned more about Naomi Brooks, something about the situation continued to stay in his mind. He had met countless people throughout his life who appeared impressive on the surface, but revealed very little when it mattered. Naomi was the opposite. She had no reason to believe anyone important was paying attention to her, yet she continued to show patience, professionalism, and kindness in every moment. That was what made her different. Meanwhile, at the Whitmore estate, Victoria Hayes continued enjoying the attention surrounding her wedding. To her, the incident with Naomi was already forgotten. She saw it as a small moment involving someone she considered unimportant. She never stopped to think about how easily a few careless words could reveal a person's true character. Vincent, however, remembered everything. He remembered how quickly the room followed Victoria's attitude. He remembered how many people chose silence because they did not want to challenge someone with influence. Most importantly, he remembered how Naomi handled the situation. She had been given every reason to become bitter, but she chose grace instead. A few days later, Vincent attended another private gathering where Naomi was working. This time, he paid closer attention. He noticed how employees approached her for advice. He noticed how guests trusted her. He noticed how she could manage a difficult situation without making anyone feel embarrassed. These were not skills that came from a uniform. They came from experience and character. Vincent had spent years building a reputation around control and confidence, but Naomi demonstrated a different kind of strength. She showed that remaining respectful when others were disrespectful required a level of discipline that many powerful people never developed. During the event, a small organizational problem appeared. Several details needed attention at the same time, and the staff became uncertain about what to do. Naomi calmly stepped forward and helped create a solution. She did not demand attention. She did not try to take credit. She simply focused on making sure everything went smoothly. Vincent watched as the people around her slowly realized what he had already understood. The person they had ignored was often the person holding everything together. Later, Vincent approached Naomi for the first time. He did not introduce himself with his reputation or expect special treatment. He simply thanked her for the way she handled the event. Naomi was surprised. She was used to people noticing mistakes more than effort. "I was only doing my job," she replied. Vincent looked at her and answered, "That is exactly what makes it different. Most people only do their best when someone important is watching." Naomi smiled politely, not realizing how much her simple actions had impacted him. For Vincent, this conversation confirmed something important. Respect was not created by wealth, status, or fear. It was created through consistent actions when nobody expected recognition. And while Naomi returned to her normal routine, Vincent began thinking about one question that would eventually change everything. How many other people had the world overlooked simply because nobody took the time to truly see them? Vincent Callahan had spent years believing that people revealed their true value through ambition, success, and influence. His world was built around powerful names, important decisions, and carefully planned strategies. But the more he learned about Naomi Brooks, the more he realized that some of the most valuable qualities in a person could not be measured by wealth or reputation. They were revealed through small actions, especially when nobody was watching. After their conversation at the event, Vincent continued thinking about Naomi's words and behavior. She had never asked for recognition. She had never tried to prove that she was better than anyone else. She simply believed that doing the right thing mattered, even when no one noticed. That mindset was unusual in Vincent's world. A few days later, Vincent invited Naomi to a private meeting. She was surprised by the request because she still saw herself as an employee doing her job, not someone who belonged in important conversations. When she arrived, she expected a discussion about the event. Instead, Vincent asked her about her ideas. He wanted to know how she approached hospitality, how she handled people, and what she believed made an experience memorable. Naomi answered honestly. She explained that people often remembered how they were treated more than what they received. A beautiful event could be forgotten, but the feeling someone carried afterward could last much longer. Vincent listened carefully. He had spent years around people who focused on appearances, numbers, and reputation. Naomi focused on connection. She understood something many successful people forgot. every person wanted to feel respected. During their conversation, Vincent discovered that Naomi had once dreamed of managing her own hospitality company. She had studied organization, customer service, and event planning whenever she had the opportunity. However, unexpected responsibilities and difficult circumstances had changed her path. Instead of complaining about what she lost, she continued building skills wherever she was. Vincent found that more impressive than any formal achievement. Many people became confident after receiving success. Naomi had remained confident while waiting for her chance. Meanwhile, word about Naomi's professionalism slowly spread among those who had attended the wedding. Some guests who had ignored her began remembering different moments from that night. They remembered how she remained calm. They remembered how she continued helping others despite being treated unfairly. They began realizing that the person they overlooked had shown more maturity than many of the people who judged her. Victoria Hayes, however, struggled to understand why people were suddenly speaking differently about Naomi. She had always believed status determined importance. She believed some people belonged at the center while others belonged in the background. But Vincent saw the situation differently. He knew that leadership was not about deciding who deserved respect. It was about recognizing that respect should already exist. As Vincent continued learning more about Naomi, he reached an important conclusion. He did not admire her because she needed help. He admired her because she had maintained her character without receiving any reward for it. In a world where many people changed depending on who was watching, Naomi remained the same person everywhere. And that was exactly why Vincent Callahan knew she deserved to be seen. The moment Vincent Callahan decided to give Naomi Brooks a greater opportunity, he understood that the world around him would begin asking questions. People who had spent years judging others by appearances and positions would not easily understand why a man with his influence would take interest in someone they considered ordinary. But Vincent had learned something important. The most valuable people were not always the ones standing in the spotlight. Sometimes they were the ones quietly making everything better while receiving no attention at all. Vincent invited Naomi to help organize an upcoming charity event connected to his business community. He did not present it as a favor. He presented it as an opportunity to show what she was capable of. Naomi was hesitant at first. She had spent too much time being underestimated to believe that one person's recognition could suddenly change everything. She wanted to earn her place through her own abilities. Vincent respected that. He did not want to give her a position because he felt sorry for her. He wanted to create a situation where her talent could speak for itself. As preparations began, Naomi worked with the same dedication she had always shown. She carefully planned every detail, listened to everyone involved, and made sure every guest would feel welcomed. Vincent watched her handle responsibilities that many people with years of experience struggled with. She remained calm, organized, and thoughtful even when challenges appeared. What impressed him most was that she never acted like she was trying to prove something. She was simply doing what she believed was right. During one planning session, several team members questioned whether Naomi had enough experience to lead such an important event. They looked at her previous job title instead of her actual abilities. Vincent listened quietly before responding. He did not need to raise his voice or make a dramatic statement. He simply asked them one question. Have you taken the time to see what she has already accomplished? The room became quiet. That question made everyone think. They realized they had made the same mistake others had made before. They had judged Naomi based on where she worked instead of what she could do. Naomi noticed the change in the atmosphere, but remained focused on her responsibilities. She did not seek revenge against those who doubted her. She did not want anyone to feel embarrassed. She only wanted the chance to contribute. That quality impressed Vincent more than anything else. He understood that true confidence did not need to announce itself. It showed through actions. As the event approached, more people began recognizing Naomi's abilities. The same guests who once saw her only as a waitress started seeing her as a talented professional. They began asking for her opinions and appreciating her ideas. The difference was not that Naomi had suddenly become valuable. She had always been valuable. The difference was that people finally chose to look beyond the surface. Vincent realized that this was the lesson he had been searching for his entire life. Power could open doors, but character determined who deserved to walk through them. And Naomi Brooks had proven that she did not need a powerful name to create an impact. She only needed someone willing to see the person behind the uniform. The charity event arrived with an energy that felt completely different from the wedding night, where Naomi Brooks had once been overlooked. This time, she was not standing quietly in the background carrying trays while others received attention. She was standing at the center of the preparation, making decisions, guiding the team, and creating an atmosphere where every guest would feel valued. Yet despite the changes around her, Naomi remained the same person. She did not become arrogant because people finally noticed her. She did not forget the humility that had always defined her. Vincent Callahan watched this transformation with quiet admiration. He had expected Naomi to prove that she was capable. What surprised him was how naturally she carried responsibility without letting recognition change her character. The event attracted important guests from across the city, including many people who had attended Victoria Hayes' wedding. Some remembered the way Naomi had been treated. Others remembered how silently she endured an unfair moment without losing her composure. Now they saw her differently. They saw a woman who had been underestimated but never defeated. Victoria arrived at the event expecting everything to continue as before. She still believed social position determined importance. She still believed certain people belonged in certain places. But when she entered the room and saw Naomi being respected by guests, employees, and business leaders, she felt something she had not expected. She saw evidence that her judgment had been wrong. Throughout the evening, Naomi moved through the event with confidence. She greeted guests, solved problems, and made sure everyone felt included. People began complimenting her ability to create such a successful experience. They asked about her ideas and listened when she spoke. For the first time, many people were seeing what Vincent had recognized from the beginning. Her talent had never been hidden. They simply had not looked closely enough. Later in the evening, Vincent gathered everyone's attention for a brief announcement. The room became quiet as people wondered what he wanted to say. He did not speak about his own achievements or influence. Instead, he spoke about someone who had reminded him of an important truth. He talked about a person who continued doing the right thing even when nobody rewarded her for it. He talked about someone who showed professionalism when others showed judgment. Then he turned toward Naomi and acknowledged her contribution. The room fell silent. Naomi was surprised because she had never expected recognition. She had only wanted the chance to do her work well. Vincent explained that success was not only measured by titles, wealth, or public attention. It was measured by the impact a person had on others. Those words changed the way many people viewed Naomi. The same woman who had once been treated as invisible was now standing in a room where everyone understood her value. Victoria watched quietly, realizing that the person she had dismissed had displayed more grace and strength than anyone else that night. Naomi did not need to prove that she was worthy. She had shown it through every action she took. And Vincent Callahan knew that the greatest mistake people made was looking at someone's position before looking at their heart. The days following the charity event brought a change that Naomi Brooks never expected. For years, she had been someone people overlooked. She had entered rooms quietly, completed her responsibilities, and accepted that many people would judge her before knowing her story. But now, those same people were beginning to see the qualities that had always been there. They were finally looking beyond her job title and recognizing the person behind it. Naomi did not let the attention change who she was. She still arrived early, still helped others, and still treated every person with the same respect she always had. Vincent Callahan noticed that more than anything else, many people became different when they received recognition. Naomi became even more determined to use her opportunity wisely. Vincent continued working with Naomi on new community projects, but he made sure she had the freedom to make her own decisions. He understood that supporting someone did not mean controlling their path. It meant creating space for them to grow. This was a lesson Vincent had not always understood. In his world, influence often meant having control over every outcome. Naomi showed him that true leadership could also mean trusting others and allowing their abilities to shine. Meanwhile, the people who once ignored Naomi began changing their perspective. Some apologized for the way they had treated her. Others admitted that they had made assumptions without knowing anything about her life. Naomi accepted their words with kindness, but she did not need their approval anymore. She had already discovered her own value long before others recognized it. Victoria Hayes struggled the most with this realization. She looked back at the wedding and remembered how quickly she had judged Naomi. At the time, She believed she was protecting her image and maintaining a certain standard. But now she understood that she had confused status with worth. The woman she had dismissed had shown more patience, professionalism, and grace than many people who considered themselves superior. One afternoon, Victoria approached Naomi privately. It was not a dramatic moment, filled with excuses. It was simply a quiet conversation between two people who had changed in different ways. Victoria admitted that she had been wrong to judge someone based on appearance and occupation. Naomi listened calmly. She did not hold on to anger because she knew bitterness would only keep her connected to the moment she had already moved beyond. She accepted the apology and reminded Victoria that everyone had the ability to learn and become better. Vincent witnessed the exchange from a distance and felt a sense of respect for Naomi that continued to grow. She had been given every reason to seek revenge or make others feel the same pain she experienced. Instead, she chose understanding. That choice revealed her true strength. Vincent realized that Naomi had taught him something no amount of success could teach. A person's character was not revealed by how they acted when everything went their way. It was revealed by how they treated others when life was unfair. As time passed, Naomi became known not because someone powerful supported her, but because her own actions earned respect. Vincent had opened a door, but Naomi was the one who walked through it with confidence. And everyone who once failed to see her finally understood that they had been standing beside someone remarkable all along. Years later, people still remembered the night when everything changed for Naomi Brooks. Not because of the luxury of the event, the important guests, or the powerful names in the room. They remembered it because it was the night they learned that a person's value could never be measured by a uniform, a position, or the assumptions of others. Naomi's journey had never been about proving people wrong. It had always been about staying true to herself. After all the attention and recognition she received, she continued building her future with the same patience and dedication she had shown from the beginning. She eventually created her own hospitality company, focusing on making every guest feel respected and welcomed. Her success came from the same qualities Vincent Callahan had noticed when everyone else looked away. She listened. She cared. She understood people. The business grew not because of Vincent's reputation, but because Naomi had earned the trust of everyone she worked with. Vincent remained a supporter, but he never stood in front of her achievements. He stood beside her. Over time, the powerful man who once believed influence was the greatest measure of success began seeing the world differently. Naomi had changed the way he viewed leadership. She showed him that the strongest leaders were not those who demanded attention, but those who helped others discover their own abilities. Their connection was built on respect, not status. Vincent admired Naomi because she never needed power to show strength. She carried it naturally through every decision she made. At a community event celebrating new business leaders, Vincent was invited to speak. Many expected him to talk about his own accomplishments, his career, or his influence. Instead, he shared a story about someone who had taught him one of the most important lessons of his life. He spoke about a person who had been ignored by many, underestimated by some, and judged without being understood. He explained that the greatest mistake people could make was believing that they already knew someone's worth before learning their story. Naomi stood among the guests listening quietly. She did not seek recognition, but she appreciated the message because it represented everything she believed. People in the room looked at her differently. They no longer saw the waitress from the wedding. They saw a successful woman who had built something meaningful through determination and kindness. Victoria Hayes was also there that evening. She watched Naomi receive the respect she had always deserved. Victoria had changed as well. She learned that elegance was not about appearances, and status was not about standing above others. True character was shown through compassion and humility. As the evening ended, Vincent and Naomi stood together outside the venue, looking at the city lights. They both understood how different their lives had become since that first night. One person had been overlooked. Another person had been powerful, but searching for something more meaningful. Somehow, they had both found what they needed. Naomi found the opportunity to be seen. Vincent found a reminder of what truly mattered. And that day, everyone remembered a simple truth. Dignity does not come from what the world gives you. It comes from what you carry within yourself.